Rosalynn Carter was never a quiet shadow of the president. Behind the soft smile were power, risky decisions, and moments that make your blood run cold. Some stories sound unbelievable, which is exactly why they're so compelling. Number 1. Handshake with a serial killer. America's friendly, smiling First Lady had no idea that on May 6, 1978, she was shaking hands with a future serial killer. During a trip to Chicago for the Polish Constitution Day parade, Rosalynn Carter posed with local political activist John Wayne Gacy, who, months later, was arrested for murdering dozens of young men. Gacy even wore a lapel pin with an S, indicating a Secret Service-cleared special pass. The First Lady signed a photo for him. To John Gacy, best wishes, Rosalynn Carter. When Gacy's crimes surfaced, the photo became a colossal embarrassment for the Secret Service. How could a predator get that close? What did Rosalynn feel when she learned who he really was? Fate's cruel joke, or a preventable failure? Could she possibly have imagined whose hand she was shaking? Number 2. The nanny with a murder conviction. When Rosalynn Carter moved into the White House, she brought the nanny for her 9-year-old daughter, Amy, a woman named Mary Prince, then convicted of murder. Yes, the First Lady brought into the White House a nanny who had once been sentenced to life. Mary, then known as Mary Fitzpatrick, had been charged with a 1970 killing, but the Carters believed she was innocent. Rosalynn personally lobbied for Mary's release, and President Carter officially became her sponsor during parole. The press was stunned. People ran a sympathetic profile while Saturday Night Live mocked the decision to hire a killer nanny. Rosalynn didn't flinch, and for good reason. The courts later revisited the case, declared Mary innocent, and fully pardoned her. The Carters gained a loyal friend for life. Risky? Absolutely. Would you trust your child to someone with a past like that? Number 3. I Will Marry Him. From Plains to the White House and back. Rosalynn Smith was born on August 18, 1927, in Plains, Georgia. Her father, Wilburn Edgar Smith, died of leukemia when she was 13, and Rosalynn, with her mother, dressmaker Allie Mae Smith, helped raise the younger children. A top student and her class valedictorian, she attended Georgia Southwestern College. She met her future president through his sister Ruth. After seeing a photo of Cadet Jimmy on the wall, Rosalynn said she would marry him someday. Their first date was in 1945, and the wedding followed on July 7, 1946. They had 4 children: John Jack, 1947, James Chip, 1950, Donald Jeff, 1952, and Amy, 1967. The thoughtful, hard-working Southerner grew into the political talent that made her a steel magnolia. Rosalynn Carter died on November 19, 2023 in Plains at age 96, after an earlier that year dementia diagnosis and a brief period of hospice care. Number 4. The Steel Magnolia, an unofficial second president? In Washington, Rosalynn Carter earned the nickname Steel Magnolia for iron resolve beneath gentility. Time called her the second most powerful person in the United States. Unprecedented for a First Lady? She wasn't just the White House hostess, she sat in on cabinet meetings and even some National Security Council sessions to stay fully briefed. Inside the administration, aides sometimes brought ideas to her before the president. As ally Burt Lance put it, Rosalynn has marvelous political instincts. She knows what she's doing and how to get things done. Rosalynn herself admitted, "I know I have influence, and I like it. But is it right for an unelected presidential spouse to wield that much power? Fair, or over the line?" Number 5. Secret Diplomat, the First Lady's Latin America tour. Rosalynn Carter made history as the first First Lady to serve as an official presidential envoy abroad. In the summer of 1977, Jimmy Carter tasked her with a diplomatic tour of Latin America. Over 2 weeks, she visited 7 countries, from Brazil and Peru to Colombia and Venezuela, meeting leaders about human rights, arms issues, energy, and drug trafficking. First ladies had traveled before, but not to negotiate substantive state matters. Some diplomats were openly skeptical. One Brazilian official even said a woman's place was at home and her visit inappropriate. Prepared and undaunted, she took Spanish lessons 3 times a week and studied thick briefings. Rosalynn won skeptics over, In each country, attitudes shifted from wary to respectful. Press coverage called her mission a diplomatic success that exceeded expectations. It was a scandalous challenge to the traditional First Lady role. Rosalynn acted as an unofficial diplomat, rattling the establishment. Number 6. Mental Health Crusade and a Capitol Hill Showdown. Before it was mainstream, Rosalynn Carter made mental health her cause. In 1977, the president created the President's Commission on Mental Health. Legally, he couldn't name his wife chair, so she became honorary chair, but effectively drove the work, touring facilities, holding public hearings, and drawing press to the issue. In 1979, she testified before Congress, becoming the first First Lady since Eleanor Roosevelt, 1945, to do so. In 1980, Congress passed the Mental Health Systems Act, incorporating many commission recommendations. Parts were later rolled back under Reagan. Even so, Carter cemented mental health in the federal agenda and showed rare political tenacity for a First Lady. Number 7. First Lady's Cold War Clash with Nancy Reagan. The 1981 transition carried a chill between Rosalynn and Nancy Reagan. At the customary White House meeting, Nancy reportedly hinted the Carters should move out quickly so she could start renovations. Headlines spoke of a frosty handover. Nancy later phoned Rosalynn, denying the remark, but the sting remained. The contrast became symbolic. The Carters' frugal simplicity, a Christmas tree decorated with nuts and pine cones, versus Reagan-era glamour and spending. They never became friends. Their cool relationship mirrored the ideological gulf between their husbands. Number 8. More popular than her own husband. An intriguing phenomenon. Rosalynn Carter managed to keep her reputation and public goodwill even as President Carter's approval rating plunged. In their first year in the White House, 1977, a record 69% of Americans approved of the First Lady's work. 3 years later, with the economy reeling and the Iran hostage crisis unfolding, Jimmy Carter's approval sank to 32%, threatening his re-election. Yet remarkably, 59% of Americans still viewed Rosalynn favorably, nearly twice her husband's. While the president had to remain in Washington, the First Lady effectively became his chief campaign surrogate, crisscrossing the country with stump speeches. Staffers called her the Carters' secret weapon. And though it didn't save Jimmy from defeat in 1980, Rosalynn entered history as a First Lady who was more popular than the sitting president. Number 9. Rebel for Women's Rights. In November 1977, Rosalynn joined Betty Ford and Lady Bird Johnson at the National Women's Conference in Houston and publicly backed the Equal Rights Amendment, ERA. For a First Lady, such an overt political stand was unprecedented, and it triggered fierce pushback from conservatives led by Phyllis Schlafly. Rosalynn insisted women should be able to thrive beyond the hearth. The ERA was never ratified, but her stance cemented the idea of a First Lady as an independent civic leader, not merely the White House's chief homemaker.